Hello everyone, William here. This is another mail day video, but this time it's some international mail. I've had parcels like this before I've shown on the channel, where these are cards I had bought in America. And what I do, there's a kind of a storage service I use where I buy cards in America, keep them there for a few months, and then have them shipped home once I have enough cards. But I actually brought this one home early because there should be in here a very special card that I was looking for quite a long time. I'm not sure how many cards I brought home, but I'll have a run through. I'll try to avoid the glare. It's something I never seem to really get right. Alright, here we go. This is a God of War Spirit Link, a Russian copy. This was one I saw for pretty cheap. The seller had a few other Russian cards, only commons and uncommons, and I don't think I'll ever get any of the Mega God of War full arts in Russian, so I decided I'll just pick up that Spirit Link card. Here's another language card. This one's a Korean lady from, I think it's Lost Abyss, yes. And one thing about Ship My Cards, I like that they send them they use top loaders for every single card. This is the Latin American Spanish regional promo for Iris Fighting Spirit. I don't have the staff version. I don't think I'll ever bother trying to get the staff copy of that one. It was just hard enough to get this one. I imagine that the player I bought this from, they went to, was it Peru? I believe it was Peru, one of the regionals was held in, and they brought it back with them to America and then sold it. Okay, I'll show the card behind. That's the one I want to show last. I'll close to last. Here's a Thai lady full art. It's probably better I take them out of the top load and sleeves. Yeah, I think for both lady and Furisode girl, I have about 7 out of the 12 languages, so I'm doing pretty good in that regard. Here's a Nessa. I saw this card on auction pretty cheap, and I decided, you know what, I'll buy it because I've never owned a BGS slab before, and it's a 9.5. No subgrades. I think they still do subgrades, but it's not as common for Pokemon cards, especially the cheap ones. The slab does feel kind of thick. Not my favorite slab, but I wanted to just see one to see how it felt. This is my only other slab I bought. Let me see if I could take it out quickly. This is Iris's Fighting Spirit, Pristine 10. This card, I believe when I bought it, the seller said it's a pop one, which to me doesn't really hold much merit because this card is only about maybe 4 or 5 months old. And I checked the CGC pop and they're less than 100 graded, so in maybe 4 or 5 years, the Pristine 10 wouldn't really mean much, but I saw the price and it seemed pretty alright, and I figured I'd buy it. I wanted the English version in a Pristine. I've seen quite a few Japanese Pristine 10s, but I prefer English just because it's harder to grade in that regard. A quick update on the CGC Pristine 10, but I was looking over and there seems to be a dent there, but I might be imagining things because I looked online and I can't at the CGC scans and I don't really see anything. The same thing with at the back. I don't really notice anything either. Might just be my imagination, but I'll put up the scans and you tell me what you think. One thing I say is that it's probably the centering top to bottom's not really a 10 worthy, but I'm honestly not surprised. Recently there was another PSA 10 plasma vase iris that was added to the pot. It's not pot 43 and that one still has white dots. So it's a case of iris always having some flaws even on so-called gem mint cards. Alright, back to the video. With Japanese, I generally just prefer the ungraded cards because they're so good in terms of quality. Getting a 10 isn't that significant. And here is a special card I was talking about. And as you can see, it's a Nessa card. Nessa full art. The seller sent it in a World's sleeve. I saw he had shown me pictures of it, quite a few pictures beforehand. So you might be wondering what's so special about this card. And if I show you, I'll try to, can you see the difference? Yeah, this is the Professor Program Award, or sometimes it's called a Plaque Award Nessa card full art. They were, to give an explanation, basically, was it 2022, just sometime after the pandemic when there started to be events again, there were some special, six Pokemon professors were awarded a plaques which had 8 cards, 8 of the Galar gym leaders. And in all 8 cards had this special Professor Program stamp, which is very rare. I think it's the only time it's been done for an English full art. Sometimes you would see Asia, their full arts, some in Japanese, Chinese, and whatnot. Some of those cards would have a stamp. But this is the first time, I'm pretty sure it has been done for an English card. From what I've heard, the reason they did it is because since the professor, it was a special award for the professors and they wanted to make it like really special, which is why all 8 cards have the stamp compared to the normal one. Ideally, it's not a variation that people are really going to notice, and being quite rare, you're not really going to ever see these on the market. Now, I don't really want to get into what I paid for this card. It's pretty expensive, but I would publicly, there was a full set of 8 that sold sometime earlier this year, maybe just even a few months ago now. It ended allegedly low, but it went for about, I think it was close to 8,000 US dollars for the full set. So that kind of gives you an idea of what I would have paid for this Nessa card. Although I would admit that compared to what the 8 went for, I paid a bit more just because I wanted the single. And when it comes to buying a set, buying a set is always cheaper in majority of cases than buying a single card. So I paid a bit more just to have the Nessa rather than trying to. I couldn't afford a full set, but I could afford to maybe just spend a bit more to get Nessa. And it's a card I knew about, and I don't think I knew it when it came out. But in 2023, when I first learned of this card, I was like, oh shoot, I'm never going to get it because there are only 6 copies awarded. But as time went on, a lot more professors, well, I say a lot more, I've heard numbers as high as 50 and as low as maybe 25. So it's always going to be a rare card, but I would say the value is obviously going to be capped because in reality, who knows about these cards and who really wants, it's not original art. So there's always going to be a limited buyer pool. To a degree, I think it's kind of risky. I won't say risky, but what I paid, it was a amount that I could basically afford to lose, because I have a feeling in 5 years' time it's not going to be a card I could sell for what I pay for it. It's a very similar situation, I believe, to what happened with Olivia, where it has a very limited amount of quantities out there, but the amount of buyers are always going to outnumber the amount of sellers. So I don't, with if there were only ever 6 copies, yeah, for sure this card would always be valuable. But now that there's a lot more, well, I say a lot more again, but it's pretty sure it's under 50 copies. I don't see this card ever being that valuable in the long run. I probably wanted to say something else, but it's really, I never, as I said, I never thought I would buy it. The card was always out there, but it was way out of my budget, especially when they're only 6. But now that time passed on, it reached a point where I want to say I heard a set sold for about 20,000 US dollars. That was over a year ago, and I figured in that case, the cards are going to be roughly about 2,500, 2,000 each, and I could possibly save up for that, which is kind of what I did when it came to obtaining this card. I put some money aside just in case I ever saw one come up. And I also, if I think I put a video out maybe about a month or two ago where I sold some other cards just to kind of help the budget a bit for obtaining this. So overall, I would say this is definitely a grail card for me, but it's very niche. But as you can see with quite a few of my other cards, there is quite a bit of niche stuff. So that's kind of my how I collect nowadays. Anyway, I'm just waffling, so I'm going to end the video here. But so that's all for today, and thanks for watching.